Suspiria, directed by Dario Argento, starring Jessica Harper, Stefania Casini, and Flavio Bucci. An American newcomer to a prestigious German ballet academy comes to realize that the school is a front for something sinister amid a series of grisly murders. Suspiria is a film that is more of an experience. It is one of those cinematic treats that doesn't come along very often. It's one of those films that when you see a film today that uses the kind of color palette that Dario Argento used in Suspiria, that's when people will say, oh, there's an homage to Suspiria, similar to when music sounds similar to John Carpenter's score from Halloween. It is one of those films that has ingrained itself not only in the horror genre, but in film in general. Suspiria is basically about a young woman named Susie Banyan who comes from America to Germany to go to the Tanz Academy. Unbeknownst to her, this school is a front for a coven of witches. And this is something that's pretty much alluded to at the very beginning of the film. You have Susie in her taxi going to the Tanz Academy, and over Goblin's incredible score, you hear someone say, witches. And you hear little nods like that about witches in the soundtrack, or someone will bring up witches. So we already know that there's something having to do with witchcraft. This film is absolutely gorgeous, not only in its color palette, but also in its cinematography. It has this kind of fairy tale vibe to it. It definitely has this feeling of Snow White, that the character of Susie Banyan, played perfectly by Jessica Harper, is Snow White going into this fairy tale nightmare. It's a very simple storyline, but because of the way that everything flows together, the way that everything is shot, the color palette, the supporting cast, it has this dreamlike vibe to it. And we're going down the rabbit hole with Susie. Now, I said earlier that this is a film that is an experience, and I really do mean that. It really helps to see it with an audience. I had the privilege to be able to see this live with Goblin playing the score, and there's nothing quite like it, being able to experience the film with an audience with the score being played over the film. It enhances the film to a whole nother level. And I've mentioned Goblin's score a couple of times already. The score is a character in itself, and there's times where it almost seems like the characters can hear part of the score, that it's actually the witches making these sounds. And so it's hard to delineate between what is happening in the film to these characters and what they're hearing, and what we as the audience are hearing. When you're looking for the best of Italian cinema, look no further than Dario Argento's Suspiria. Another piece that is fantastic about this film is the screenplay, which was written by both Dario Argento and Daria Nicolodi. And he met Daria Nicolodi on the set of Deep Red. There is a clear line of films before Suspiria and films after Suspiria, and Daria Nicolodi is a huge part of the difference between the films before and after. The way that the characters are written for the women, it feels like it's coming from a female voice. And the way that certain scenes are shot, and the way that these women act, it all makes sense from a female perspective. And I think that that was something that was missing in Argento's earlier films. When it comes to the kills, gore, and practical effects, this is a film that's in a league of its own. There is this beautiful artistic quality to it. Even though there is a scene of murder happening, it's this beautiful painting. And you have, again, the music by Goblin overlaid on top of that. It creates this experience that you can't look away from, and it's hypnotic in its beauty. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some disturbing scenes in here, but no matter how disturbing it is, you can't look away because it is so beautiful. Everything about it is otherworldly and dreamlike. What I highly suggest you do before you go into watching this film is think about it as nightmare logic. There is no logic when you are having a nightmare or when you're having a dream. That's the same type of idea when it comes to Suspiria. I touched on the performances very briefly at the beginning of this review, but I want to go a bit more in depth about that. I think that the performances by the entire cast work within this film. It's very much over the top, and it has this kind of theatrical feeling to it, but again, it's a fairy tale. It's a nightmare. It goes by that logic, so therefore the characters act in a very similar way. With all that said, Suspiria is an instant classic. If you've never seen this film, you are in for a treat. I wish I could experience Suspiria for the very first time all over again. And if you haven't seen very much Italian horror films, this is a great gateway film to get you acclimated to Italian cinema, and then check out the rest of Dario Argento's filmography, and then go into Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava, etc. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you guys next time.